The massive alien ships dropped out of hyperspace like predators emerging from the void. Fleet Commander Vexamora stood tall on the bridge of her flagship, watching the yellow star grow larger on her screens. Her crystalline skin reflected the cold light of distant stars as she studied the tactical displays with practiced eyes. "What do we have?" she asked, her voice carrying the weight of 1,000 conquered worlds. Her intelligence officer, a smaller alien with multiple arms, worked frantically at his console. "Third planet from the star, Commander. We detect radio signals and primitive electromagnetic signatures. They call their world Earth." Vexmora's mandibles clicked together in what passed for amusement among her species. Another backwater planet, filled with creatures who had barely learned to leave their own atmosphere. The Kethvar hegemony had catalogued hundreds of such worlds over the millennia, and they all followed the same pattern. "Show me their defenses," she commanded. The main screen flickered to life, displaying orbital scans of Earth's surface. What Vexmora saw made her laugh, a sound like grinding crystal. Scattered across the blue planet's oceans were dozens of ancient rusted metal hulks, aircraft carriers from some long-forgotten war, their decks stained with corrosion and neglect. Battleships with guns that looked like they belonged in a museum. Submarines so old their metal hulls had turned brown with age. "These are their warships?" she asked incredulously. "Apparently so, Commander. Our scans show chemical propulsion systems, primitive nuclear weapons, and basic satellite networks. Their most advanced technology appears to be simple fusion reactors." Deep beneath the Korean peninsula, Director Kim Jae sat in a sterile command center carved from solid rock. Banks of monitors surrounded him, each one showing what appeared to be Earth's pathetic military assets. Ancient jets with outdated engines, missile systems that looked like they belonged in the previous century, naval fleets that any modern civilization would consider scrap metal. Kim Jae was 63 years old, and he had spent the last 40 years of his life preparing for this exact moment. His weathered face remained completely calm as he watched 3 alien cruisers materialize in Earth's upper atmosphere. Around him, dozens of technicians monitored screens and adjusted controls with practiced efficiency. "Sir, they're running standard reconnaissance patterns," reported Lieutenant Park Soo from her station near the main display. "Electromagnetic sweeps, gravitational analysis, atmospheric composition checks." "Good," Kim Jae said quietly. "Let them see exactly what we want them to see." The alien scans were incredibly thorough. They catalogued every radio tower, every satellite, every military installation on Earth's surface. What they found was exactly what they expected. A primitive species that had barely mastered spaceflight, armed with weapons that posed no threat to advanced galactic civilization. Vexmora reviewed the intelligence reports with growing confidence. The humans had chemical rockets that could barely reach their own moon. Their nuclear weapons were crude fusion devices that would barely scratch the paint on a hegemony cruiser. Their computers were electronic rather than quantum. Their communications traveled at light speed rather than through hyperspace. "Typical pre-contact civilization," she announced to her bridge crew. "Begin standard intimidation protocols." Above Earth's major cities, 3 massive alien vessels decloaked simultaneously. Each ship was over 2 kilometers long, their dark hulls bristling with weapons that could level continents. The psychological effect was immediate and devastating. Across Earth, humans pointed at the sky in terror and wonder. News broadcasts interrupted regular programming. Military bases scrambled their fighters, knowing full well that their weapons were useless against such advanced technology. World leaders held emergency meetings, debating surrender terms that hadn't even been offered yet. Kim Jae watched the global panic unfold on his monitors with satisfaction. Everything was proceeding exactly according to plan. The aliens were seeing exactly what they expected to see. A primitive species in complete disarray, scrambling to respond to a threat far beyond their capabilities. "Heritage stations report ready," announced Lieutenant Choi Bin from her position at the communications console. "All platforms standing by for Protocol 7 activation." "Not yet," Kim Jae said calmly. "Let them make their demands first." The hegemony standard procedure was well established. appear in overwhelming force, allow the primitive species time to comprehend their hopeless situation, then issue demands for unconditional surrender. Most civilizations capitulated immediately. Those that didn't were made examples of. Vex Mora studied the human response patterns with professional interest. Their military forces were mobilizing, but slowly and inefficiently. Their weapons systems were activating, but they were laughably inadequate. Their leaders were attempting to establish communication, but their technology was so primitive that meaningful dialogue would take hours to arrange. "Begin transmission of surrender terms," she ordered. "Standard format: unconditional capitulation, immediate cessation of all military activity, preparation for occupation forces." What Vex Mora didn't know was that every scan her ships had performed, every intelligence report her officers had compiled, and every tactical assessment her computers had generated was based on carefully crafted deception. The rusted hulks scattered across Earth's oceans weren't museum pieces. The primitive satellites weren't communication relays. The ancient military bases weren't obsolete installations. They were camouflage. The hegemony communication systems, crackled with intercepted human transmissions. Vex Mora listened with growing amusement as world leaders spoke in panicked voices about emergency protocols and defensive measures. The primitives were scrambling like insects before a storm. "Commander, we're picking up repeated mentions of something called Protocol 7, reported her communications officer. Also references to Heritage Fleet activation and deep space monitoring stations. Vex Mora's crystalline features twisted into what her species considered a smile. "Psychological warfare. They're trying to make us believe they have hidden weapons." "How pathetic." Her tactical officer nodded in agreement. "Our scans show no evidence of advanced technology beyond what we've already cataloged. These humans are bluffing." 3,000 meters beneath the Pacific Ocean, Captain Li Min stood in the command center of Poseidon Base. The facility stretched for kilometers in every direction, carved into the seafloor and hidden from all surface detection. Massive fusion reactors hummed quietly in the depths, powering weapons systems that had taken decades to construct. "Enemy fleet maintaining position," reported Lieutenant Choi Bin from her station. "They're conducting standard occupation scans," Li Min nodded, his eyes fixed on the tactical display showing the alien ships hovering above Earth's major cities. "They see exactly what we want them to see: rusted ships and obsolete weapons. Above them, seemingly abandoned aircraft carriers dotted the ocean surface. Their hulls were brown with artificial corrosion, their decks littered with fake debris. To any scanning technology, they appeared to be nothing more than forgotten relics of ancient wars. The truth was far different. Dr. Hansol monitored the situation from Luna Station, hidden within what appeared to be an abandoned mining facility on the moon's far side. The aliens had scanned the installation hours earlier and dismissed it as industrial waste. Their sensors detected old excavation equipment and empty storage containers. They missed the antimatter production facility buried 2 kilometers beneath the lunar surface. "Phase torpedo batteries are fully charged," she reported to Earth Command, through quantum-encrypted channels. "All Heritage platforms report ready status." Throughout the solar system, what appeared to be space junk and abandoned satellites were slowly awakening. Ancient probe casings split open to reveal particle beam weapons. Derelict space stations extended hidden solar panels and powered up weapon systems that had been dormant for decades. Vex Mora reviewed the latest intelligence reports with satisfaction. Human military forces were mobilizing across the globe, but their responses were clumsy and uncoordinated. Fighter jets scrambled from airbases only to circle helplessly beneath the hegemony cruisers. Naval vessels left port but remained at safe distances, their primitive weapons systems powered down in apparent recognition of their uselessness. "Sir, we're detecting increased electromagnetic activity from their communication networks," her sensor operator reported. "They appear to be coordinating some kind of unified response." "Let them coordinate," Vex Mora replied dismissively. "What can they possibly do with chemical rockets and nuclear bombs?" Commander Yun Da watched the alien fleet from her position at Ceres Station, disguised as a mining operation in the asteroid belt. The facility had been operating undercover for 30 years, slowly converting asteroids into weapon platforms, while maintaining the appearance of a simple resource extraction operation. Jupiter defense grid is online, she reported. Saturn ring batteries charging to full power. Neptune fortress acknowledging ready status. The aliens had detected the mining operations months ago and classified them as primitive industrial activity. Their scans showed basic excavation equipment, storage facilities, and transport vessels carrying raw materials between asteroids. What they failed to recognize were the railgun installations hidden within artificial craters, or the fact that every transport ship was actually a heavily armed destroyer. Back on Earth, Director Kim Jae received updates from command centers across the globe. The aliens were following their predictable pattern. Show overwhelming force. Allow time for despair to set in. Then demand surrender. It was a strategy that had worked for them countless times across the galaxy. It would not work on Earth. Sir, the aliens are beginning their ultimatum transmission, reported Park Soo. Standard occupation demands. Kim Jae watched Vex Mora's image appear on the main screen, her crystalline features radiating arrogant confidence. She spoke in perfectly translated human languages, explaining that resistance was futile and surrender was humanity's only option. You have one rotation of your planet to comply, she concluded. Prepare your leaders for transfer to occupation headquarters. Any attempt at resistance will result in the complete destruction of your civilization. The transmission ended, leaving the command center in silence. Around the world, similar ultimatums were being broadcast to every government, every military installation, every population center. The message was clear: submit or die. What Vex Mora didn't understand was that humanity had been preparing for this conversation for over 200 years. Every piece of apparently primitive technology she had observed was carefully designed camouflage. Every rusted warship contained weapon systems that surpassed anything in the hegemony arsenal. Every abandoned facility hid defensive installations that could crack planets. The aliens had made a fundamental error in judgment. They had looked at Earth's surface and seen exactly what they expected to see: a primitive species armed with obsolete weapons. They had never considered that any civilization might deliberately appear weaker than it actually was. Begin heritage protocol activation, Kim Jae said quietly. It's time to show them what humanity really looks like. The human response came, not through words but through transformation. Across Earth's oceans, what the hegemony had dismissed as corroded naval relics began to change. The rusted hulks that had dotted the seas for decades suddenly split open along hidden seams, their corroded exteriors falling away like discarded shells. Admiral Park Hyun stood on the bridge of what had appeared to be a derelict aircraft carrier, floating in the Pacific. Around him, ancient-looking metal panels retracted with mechanical precision, revealing gleaming surfaces beneath. The Heritage One shed its disguise like a butterfly emerging from a chrysalis. All Heritage vessels, initiate. Reveal sequence, he commanded into his communication system. Across the globe, the transformation was breathtaking. Battleships that had looked ready for the scrapyard suddenly bristled with plasma cannons that rose from hidden compartments. Submarines surfaced and opened their hulls to expose antimatter launch tubes that gleamed like silver mirrors. Aircraft, carriers extended flight decks that revealed themselves to be massive particle beam arrays. Vex Mora watched from her flagship as her sensor displays suddenly exploded with new readings. Energy signatures were appearing everywhere, so powerful they made her instruments scream warnings. "What is happening?" she demanded. Her sensor officer worked frantically at his controls, his multiple arms moving in desperate coordination. "Commander, we're detecting massive power sources throughout the system. These readings, they can't be accurate." But they were accurate. Throughout the solar system, humanity's greatest deception was coming to an end. Asteroids that had been catalogued as simple rock formations suddenly cracked open, revealing the massive railgun installations hidden within. What had appeared to be mining equipment transformed into weapon platforms that could accelerate projectiles to significant fractions of light speed. Commander Yoon-da coordinated the asteroid belt reveal from Ceres Station. "All mining platforms, shedding camouflage," she reported. "Weapon systems coming online across the belt." Ancient space stations that the aliens had dismissed as derelict suddenly came alive with activity. Solar panels unfolded like mechanical flowers, revealing their true purpose as power collectors for weapons that required enormous amounts of energy. Communications satellites synchronized into a defensive grid, their innocent-looking antenna arrays rotating to reveal particle beam emitters. Dr. Han Sol watched from Luna Station as the moon's surface began to change. What had appeared to be abandoned mining operations suddenly revealed their true nature. Massive doors opened in crater floors and weapon platforms rose from hidden bunkers. The lunar surface became a fortress bristling with defensive systems. Mars defense grid active. Came the report from the red planet. Jupiter fortress responding. Saturn ring batteries fully charged. Vexamora's tactical display was now showing so many weapon signatures that her computer systems struggled to process them all. Every piece of space debris, every abandoned satellite, every seemingly harmless installation was revealing itself to be part of an enormous defensive network. "This is impossible," she whispered, her crystalline features reflecting the warning lights that now bathed her bridge in red. "Our intelligence reports showed primitive technology." Her communications officer looked up from his station with growing panic. "Commander, we're receiving a transmission from Earth." The main screen flickered to life, showing Director Kim Jae sitting calmly in his underground command center. His weathered face showed no emotion as he spoke directly to the alien. "Fleet. Hegemony vessels, this is Earth Defense Command. You have 30 seconds to power down your weapons and prepare for boarding. This is your only warning." Vexmora's mandibles clicked in disbelief. Are these primitives threatening us? But even as she spoke, her sensors were showing her the truth. The human defensive network now spreading across her displays was more advanced than anything in hegemony space. Weapons that operated on principles her scientists didn't understand. Power sources that generated more energy than should be physically possible. Defensive systems that seemed to bend the laws of physics. Captain Lee Min surfaced his submarine and watched as its hull opened to reveal the antimatter torpedoes within. Around him, dozens of other vessels were doing the same, transforming from rusted relics into weapons of incredible power. "Heritage Fleet Alpha reporting ready," he announced. "All torpedo tubes loaded and targeted." The transformation wasn't limited to military vessels. Civilian installations across Earth were also revealing their true nature. Power plants opened hidden chambers containing defensive batteries. Communication towers extended weapon arrays. Even seemingly innocent research stations were showing themselves to be fortress installations. Major Kang Soo prepared his fighter craft for launch from what had appeared to be an abandoned airfield. The runway split open, revealing launch tubes that could accelerate his ship to speeds the aliens hadn't thought possible for atmospheric craft. "Ghost Squadron ready for deployment," he reported. "Stealth systems active." Veximora realized with growing horror that her fleet was surrounded, not just by the obvious weapons platforms, but by vessels and installations that her sensors still couldn't detect. The humans possessed stealth technology that rendered entire fleets invisible to hegemony detection systems. "Sir, our tactical computers are showing over 10,000 weapon signatures," her tactical officer reported, his voice shaking. "Energy readings suggest firepower equivalent to our entire battle fleet." The 30 seconds Director Kim Jae had given them were almost up. Vexmora looked at her tactical display one more time, seeing the impossible truth spread across the screens. Humanity had built the most sophisticated defensive network in known galactic history, and they had hidden it so perfectly that even the hegemony's most advanced sensors had been completely deceived. "Sir," her weapons officer asked, "your orders?" Vexmora stared at the screens showing thousands of human weapons all aimed at her small fleet. After centuries of easy conquests, the hegemony had finally encountered something they had never expected to find, a species that was stronger than they appeared. The first wave of human attack came without warning. Veximora watched in horror as her flagship's shields flickered and died under weapons that shouldn't have existed. Antimatter torpedoes phased through her defensive barriers as if they were made of air, striking her hull with devastating precision. "Shields are down!" screamed her tactical officer. "Hull breach on decks 7 through 15. Captain Young-ho commanded the destroyer Ghost Protocol as it materialized directly behind the hegemony flagship. His ship had been invisible to their sensors, existing in a state between normal space and something else entirely. Phase cannons locked on target, he announced calmly. Firing. The energy beams that struck Vex Mora's ship didn't behave like any weapon she understood. They passed through her armor plating and exploded inside her vessel, damaging critical systems while leaving the outer hull untouched. Her engineering crews reported impossible readings as their own technology turned against them. "Sir, our computer systems are being rewritten," reported her chief engineer. "Something is converting our ship's systems to work against us." The most terrifying weapons in humanity's arsenal were the nanite swarms. Billions of microscopic machines flowed through space like silver clouds, seeking out disabled alien vessels. When they found their targets, they began converting the ships into additional weapon platforms for Earth's fleet. Major Kang-soo piloted his interceptor through the battle zone with impossible agility. His fighter craft moved in ways that defied physics, turning at angles that should have torn it apart, accelerating at speeds that should have liquefied its pilot. "Enemy cruiser disabled," he reported. "Nanites deployed. Conversion beginning." Vex Mora watched in growing terror as one of her escort cruisers suddenly turned its weapons on her own fleet. The nanites had rewritten its computer systems and converted its crew quarters into manufacturing facilities for more human weapons. Her own ships were being turned against her. "How is this possible?" she demanded. Their technology was primitive. Her intelligence officer worked frantically at his remaining functional consoles. "Sir, we're detecting quantum entanglement communication throughout their fleet. They're coordinating attacks instantaneously across impossible distances. The human fleet moved with perfect synchronization despite being spread across the entire solar system." Commands issued from Earth reached weapon platforms near Neptune without any delay. Tactical information flowed between ships faster than light could travel, allowing them to coordinate attacks with precision no galactic military had ever achieved. Colonel Obin coordinated the ground-based defenses from his position beneath the Rocky Mountains. "Surface installations report successful target acquisition," he announced. "Particle beam arrays fully charged." Across Earth's surface, what had appeared to be radio telescopes and communication dishes revealed their true purpose. Massive particle accelerators hidden beneath the planet's crust fired beams of concentrated energy that reached into space with perfect accuracy. The alien ships found themselves under attack from the planet itself. The hegemony's most advanced cruiser attempted to retreat, but found its path blocked by human vessels that appeared from nowhere. Captain Lee Jin commanded the Heritage 7, a ship that existed partially outside normal spacetime, making it nearly impossible to target. "Enemy vessel attempting escape vector," he reported. "Deploying temporal displacement charges." The fleeing alien ship suddenly slowed as the space around it became thick like liquid. Time itself seemed to bend around the human weapons, trapping the vessel in a bubble where seconds passed like hours. The alien crew watched helplessly as human boarding craft approached at normal speed while they moved like statues. Vex Mora's remaining functional sensors showed her the true scope of humanity's technological advancement. Their weapons operated on principles that the hegemony's greatest scientists couldn't understand. Energy conversion systems that turned incoming fire into additional power for their own weapons. Defensive shields that existed in multiple dimensions simultaneously. Propulsion systems that folded space rather than moving through it. "Sir, incoming transmission from the human fleet," her communications officer reported. Director Kim Jae appeared on her screen, still sitting calmly in his underground command center. Behind him, displays showed the complete tactical situation. Every hegemony vessel disabled, captured, or converted to human use. "Commander Vex Mora," he said in a voice that carried no anger or triumph, only certainty. "Your fleet is defeated. Your ships are being converted to serve our defensive network. Your crew will be treated well, but your war against humanity is over." The reality of her situation finally penetrated Vex Mora's shock. Her invasion fleet, equipped with the hegemony's most advanced technology, had been completely destroyed by a species she had considered primitive. Not one human ship had been lost. Not one human weapon had failed to perform exactly as designed. "How long?" she asked quietly. "How long have you been preparing for this?" Kim Jae's expression didn't change. "We detected your species' radio transmissions 200 years ago. We have been ready for this day ever since." The battle was over. The hegemony's scout fleet, designed to intimidate primitive civilizations into surrender, had become the first victims of humanity's emergence as a galactic power. Every alien vessel now served Earth's defensive network, their crews prisoners of a species that had spent centuries preparing for war while appearing completely defenseless. As her ship's systems shut down around her, Vexamora understood the magnitude of her civilization's error. They had looked at humanity and seen weakness where there was strength, primitives where there were strategists, victims where there were predators. Vexamora found herself standing in what appeared to be an impossible room. The walls seemed to exist in multiple places at once, and looking through the windows showed views of different star systems simultaneously. She was aboard a human vessel that existed partially outside normal space, a prisoner of technology that made her species' greatest achievements look like primitive tools. Captain Li Jin entered the room, moving with the casual confidence of someone completely in control of the situation. He was younger than she had expected, perhaps 40 human years, with calm eyes that had seen the careful execution of a plan, centuries in the making. "You're wondering how we did it," he said, not bothering with formal greetings. "How a species you considered primitive managed to defeat the hegemony's finest fleet." Vexamora's crystalline features reflected the strange light filtering through the dimensional windows. "Your technology was supposed to be chemical rockets and nuclear weapons. Our intelligence reports were thorough." Li Jin smiled, settling into a chair that adjusted itself to his body automatically. "Your intelligence reports were perfect. They saw exactly what we wanted them to see. We've been perfecting the art of appearing weak for over 200 years. Through the ship's impossible windows, Vexamora could see the aftermath of the battle. Her former flagship was being converted into a human weapons platform, its hull glowing as nanites rebuilt its internal systems. Other hegemony vessels floated nearby, their crews being transferred to prison ships that looked like luxury resorts compared to her species' detention facilities. "We intercepted your first radio transmissions in 1823 by your calendar system," Li Jin continued. "Long-range sensors detected your empire's expansion pattern. We had 2 centuries to prepare, and we used every day of it." Director Kim Jae's face appeared on the room's communication system, transmitted from his command center deep beneath Earth. "Commander Vexamora, you're about to witness something that hasn't happened in galactic history for over 1,000 years. A new species joining the community of advanced civilizations." The main display activated, showing a view of Earth from space. But this wasn't the primitive world the hegemony had scanned just hours earlier. The planet's true nature was now visible. Massive orbital installations that had been hidden beneath sophisticated camouflage, defense platforms that stretched from the inner planets to the outer system, and a fleet of vessels that dwarfed anything the galaxy had seen in recent memory. "We call this the Great Reveal," Kim Jae explained. "For 2 centuries we've maintained the illusion that humanity was barely capable of spaceflight. Every piece of technology you observed was carefully designed to appear primitive, while hiding capabilities that surpass anything your empire has developed." Admiral Park Hyun's voice joined the transmission from the Heritage One, now revealed as a vessel that could have served as the flagship for any galactic empire. "Our exploration fleets are already departing for distant stars, no longer disguised as chemical rockets but revealed as the advanced starships they've always been." Vexamora watched in stunned silence as human vessels began leaving Earth's solar system. Ships that could fold space around themselves, traveling faster than anything in the known galaxy. Each one carried weapons that could destroy planets and defensive systems that made them nearly invulnerable to attack. "Your empire will want to know what happened here," Li Jin said quietly. "You're going to tell them that the age of easy conquest is over. Humanity is no longer hiding." The communication system activated again, this time showing a wider view of human space. Hidden installations throughout the solar system were revealing themselves, showing the true scope of humanity's defensive network. Weapons platforms that could destroy entire fleets, manufacturing facilities that could produce new ships faster than any galactic civilization, and research stations developing technologies that pushed the boundaries of known science. We studied your empire for 200 years, Kim Jae continued. Every advancement you made, we improved upon. Every weapon you developed, we countered. Every strategy you employed, we prepared for. The hegemony grew complacent, conquering. Primitive species. We grew strong, preparing to face advanced ones. Major Kang Su's fighter squadron flew past the dimensional windows, their craft moving in formations that defied physics. These weren't the primitive atmospheric fighters the hegemony had cataloged, but advanced starfighters that could engage capital ships on equal terms. The galaxy is about to change, Li Jin said, standing and moving to the windows that showed impossible views of distant stars. For 1,000 years, the established empires have divided the stars among themselves. That era is ending, Vex Mora finally found her voice. My empire will not accept this. They will send fleets. They will try, Kim Jae replied from the communication system. And they will discover what you discovered today. Humanity is no longer the primitive species hiding in an insignificant solar system. We are the new apex predator in a galaxy that has grown comfortable with the old order. The transmission ended with a final image. Human exploration fleets spreading across the galaxy like seeds on the wind. Each ship carried the message that Earth was no longer a target for conquest, but a civilization prepared to reshape the balance of power among the stars. As Vex Mora was led to more comfortable quarters, she understood that she had witnessed something unprecedented in galactic history. A species had successfully hidden its true capabilities for centuries, emerging not as victims of conquest, but as conquerors themselves. The age of underestimating humanity was over, and the galaxy would never be the same.